Hello and welcome back to True Talk Cafe. I'm Renee, and as always, I'm joined by my amazing co-hosts, Anna, Carla, and Lolly. Ladies, say hello.
I'm so glad you're here with us today.
Hi, everyone. We have a fantastic episode lined up. I hope you are enjoying it.
And since we're working on rodeo already, I'm going to say howdy. Hope everyone's doing well.
Love that. So today we're diving into a second episode of our Think, Try, Thrive series. And it's all about taking action on your personal and professional goals. In our last episode, we focused on the importance of self-care and creating a solid foundation. Now it's time to put that energy into action. So we have a special guest that is going to be joining us today, and her name is Joni Goodman. Joni is an expert in leadership development and personal growth. So welcome, Joni, to the show.
Thank you so much, ladies, for having me. I am super excited to be here and talk about such an important topic.
Thank you so much, Jodi. We're excited to have you here with us. But before we dive in, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey?
Sure. So I am a biochemist by trade, believe it or not, turned master trainer, experiential facilitator, professional coach, creator of the Encounter You Luxury Women's Experience, and the founder and chief breakthrough officer of JDG Advisors. And I am really excited in 2025 because I'm going to add author to my expertise because
Awesome.
I'm going to be publishing my first book in Q2 that's called Repel, Breakthrough to a Better You.
That sounds amazing, Joni. So we're going to dive right into some questions that we have for you today. But, congratulations on that 2025 accomplishment. I've been writing mine for the past 20 years and haven't made much progress.
I've been writing mine for the past 4, so this is me.
Okay.
Well, congratulations. A major accomplishment, and I cannot wait to pick up my signed copy, I hope.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely. One for all of y'all.
So let's start here, right? What is the biggest challenge people face when trying to take action on their goals?
Well, I got to tell you that this was an easy yet difficult response at the same time as I have been thinking about this because I struggled with this myself. And the answer really is, in my opinion, limiting beliefs. And those limiting beliefs really stem from a big buzzword that's out there called imposter syndrome. And I like to call it aspirational discomfort because we're aspiring to do something, but yet we're uncomfortable. And those limiting beliefs come from this mean inner critic that lives within our head that is making up stories about why it's risky for us to move forward and act on our goals.
That makes so much sense. So thank you. Thank you for saying that. And I know I've suffered from imposter syndrome a few times in my life, but we often do get stuck in the planning phase and struggle to actually move forward. So, Johnny, how do you recommend that people break out of that cycle and start actually taking action?
Well, one of the things that I do for a living, but I also partake of these services is having a professional coach, someone to really support you in the discovery and diving into those inner barriers. And so that you can generate new awareness for yourself about them and about you. And also a practice that I've done over the course of my journey has been journaling. And it's spending some time reflecting on what's really coming up for you and what's happening as you start to approach acting on your goals. And where is this procrastination coming from? And is it stemming from fear? Is it fear that you're experiencing that's not allowing you to move forward? So really spending some quiet time with yourself, but also having that support of a professional coach or a mentor even as a sounding board is really, really important. I had another colleague just yesterday that said, you can't tickle yourself, even though you might be a coach or you might be a mentor to someone else. You can't really always support yourself, especially when that inner critic and you're in that aspirational discomfort.
I love that. That's really important to consider because I think we do get lost somewhere in there. And then we beat ourselves up because we got off track. But can you share a little bit about, in terms of motivation, how can someone stay motivated and consistent, especially when life gets crazy?
Yes. And my answer to that is by prioritizing you. Easier said than done, but prioritizing you and really knowing what fills your cup. What is motivating you? Is it movement, like going out for a nature walk or dancing or working out? Is it quiet time, reading a book or listening to a podcast or reflecting and journaling, as I said before? Is it spending time with family and friends or partners or kids or colleagues? And also another thing that's really important to keep you motivated is to celebrate your success in both big and small ways. And in my book, Repel, Breakthrough to a Better You, and the companion workshop that I'm developing there, I have a concept that's called the 5 R's. And one of those 5 R's is rejoice by sharing your stories of celebration and success. Don't keep it a secret. Share it with other people because it will inspire you, but it'll also inspire and uplift others through the obstacles that they're facing, in the triumphs of transformation. So it's like it's a win-win to help you be motivated. Even when you're saying it about yourself, it helps to motivate you, but it certainly motivates and inspires other people as well.
Such great insights, when you were talking about the limited beliefs, and with my coaching background, and Anna's a coach and Lolly's a coach, we're all coaches, right? But you are so right, where you need to have a sounding board yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And just what we call the limiting beliefs is one of the things, but we call it our gremlin. Right. That gremlin, and naming that gremlin and taking the power back so that you can move forward. Right. But I love the rejoicing part of that, because, when you're coaching people, sometimes they may say, oh, well, I only did this, but no, you celebrate every little win. Yeah. I believe. Anna, how do you celebrate? Isn't there something you do?
I celebrate. So I'm very focused on me, although lately I haven't celebrated enough. To Joni's point, sometimes we get caught up in all the things we need to do. I normally celebrate by treating myself to something, whether it's massage, sometimes it's self-care treatments, buying my purse, everything. But I celebrate often. It could just be a gross, day out or something. But I do feel it's important. But here lately, I've been getting caught up, and the ladies know, we don't get to see each other, but we get to at least, I'm drowning. Nice to see y'all.
Yeah. I mean, but you do have to celebrate. I remember one of my friends, she would celebrate, she's in real estate, and each time she sold a house or whatever, she would buy a pair of shoes. That's what she would do. So, I mean, definitely spot on.
Yeah. One of the things that I love to do to celebrate is to take myself out on a date. Like, it could be a lunch date, it could be a dinner date. And one of my vices is, like, for lunch is Diet Coke. I don't drink coffee, so I'll get a Diet Coke. And I'll ask for it in a wine glass. I'm celebrating today. So we're gonna drink a water or a Diet Coke or whatever out of stemware. Like, why not?
I love that. Absolutely love that. So I really wanted to kind of dive into some other questions so that we can give our listeners some takeaways and some effective strategies for them to overcome self-doubt and imposter syndrome, like we were talking about before. So what are some effective strategies?
Yeah. Well, I think you already mentioned one of them, Renee, and that is not minimizing your successes. We tend to do that, right? We tend to, especially as women, we tend to minimize our successes. And also, whenever we do have that gremlin, you also alluded to, talking about it, speaking out loud, because when it's rattling around between our ears, that's when it has the tightest grip on us. But if we write it down, even in a journal, or if we speak it out loud to someone else, it starts to loosen the grip it has on us, and we start to become more empowered. And 2 additional R's from the Repel book are reflecting. So I've already talked about the importance of reflecting and journaling. So reflecting on your experiences and strengths, and also really embracing the value that you are bringing to your team, to your organization, to your family, and really ruminating on that and allowing that to wash over you. And something that I share with my clients and happy to share with all of you is I have created 2 weeks of journal prompts where you get one journal prompt per day for 2 weeks, and they'll come through email at the same time. And it's an opportunity for you to really go on a self-exploration, self-discovery journey with yourself, and then you decide what you share with other people that you want to share with other people. And at the end, you'll receive all 14 of them so that you can use them again, you can share them with other people. But it's really an important thing to do for yourself to gain that new awareness. And then when you are facing that gremlin or that aspirational discomfort, is to reason with yourself. It's another R, reason with yourself through challenges by developing trust with yourself first while reframing the discomfort that you're feeling. And, growth mindset is a big concept, right? As far as not thinking it's fixed where it has to be this or that, but I'm giving myself permission to be open and curious about what this means. I'm feeling like it's a failure, or I'm feeling like it's a success, but I'm minimizing it. What does that mean? What is that about? And giving myself the opportunity to stay open and curious about it, and open and curious about others' responses to it as well.
So, Joni, that's very powerful, right? When I'm hearing you speak about, reflecting, reasoning, reframing, all of those R's that we love. And I know in coaching worlds, reframing is very, very important, because that is the only way to change the mindset. That's the only way to move past some of those gremlins or limiting beliefs that we hold dear to us. So I love everything you're sharing. I love the prompts. I think that I do practice journaling. I do practice meditation. And every morning my prompt is something that I use to leverage my day, right? Again, the past couple of weeks, I feel like I've been, stepping back from that, but it's important. So I'm so glad we had this conversation today, because guess what? I'm waking up tomorrow morning like, nope, Joni said I had to do this, so I had to do this. Which really brings us into the next question, to be honest. It's, how can someone balance personal and professional goals without feeling overwhelmed?
Yeah. Well, Anna, you're talking about your morning routine, and just something that I added on, honestly, this week, because I have been like you, like a little guilty about, not practicing what I'm preaching, right? So I have started a new bedtime routine, and, they always talk about, no screen time and, low lights and all that. So yes to all of that. But there are 3 questions that I have started answering for myself. And one of them is, what went well today? What can I improve? And what am I proud of? Are 3 questions. And that supports what we were just talking about as far as effective strategies, but also it helps you to stay out of that overwhelmed feeling. Because if you're starting your day a certain way and you're ending your day, you're bookending your day very intentionally, that is going to help you to reprogram your subconscious mind that is that monkey mind, that gremlin that's, has all this noise, that's giving you these messages that are awakening your gremlin or your inner critic. And it's reprogramming your brain to respond in a different way and not react. But what's really important is by being supported in your goals, and when you're feeling overwhelmed, by listening to podcasts like this and really talking about these things, but also being in community with other people so that you don't feel so alone. Because that's what we convince ourselves, right? Is that nobody else is feeling like this, and I have to tackle and handle this all myself. And this, honestly, is precisely why I created the Encounter You Luxury Women's Experience. My flagship program for women is to be able to be in community and go through life's peaks and valleys. And I say life's peaks and valleys because I'm talking about personal things as well as professional things. It's what makes us human, is all of that.
Very true.
And talking about communities and imposter syndrome and everything that, we've been discussing, I have been guilty of doing that. And what I found is finding a community that really helps you understand that you're not alone in a lot of those feelings. really, really does help. So my question is, what do you think, what is the role that networking and mentorship sometimes play in achieving career success when you're trying to overcome some of those things, or even when you just want acknowledgement that, you have achieved a lot and that you have overcome challenges that maybe are unusual, especially for a lot of times minority women. I've been the youngest, the only women, the only minority. So what role do you think mentorship and networking plays in that?
I think it plays a very critical role because we, as the biochemist in me, you can take the girl out of biochemistry, but you can't take the biochemistry out of the girl. So we are neurobiologically wired for human connection. And it doesn't matter if you're introverted, you're extroverted, you're ambiverted, you're whatever verted, you are wired for human connection. And so one of the other R's that's so important that comes from Rappel is relating. Being able to relate to others through your emotional intelligence and being able to build not just connections, but meaningful connections, and to really make sure that both parties, this relationship that you're cultivating, are in a growth mindset, in that open and curious space, giving each other and themselves permission to be both brilliant and imperfect and to succeed, but also to fail or have opportunities and to learn from that. And that's what's really important about having a network and having a mentor that can be a sounding board when you're in those periods of overwhelm. I just called my business coach this morning and I'm like, I'm drowning. And, just knowing that you're not going to implode, and let's take a step back and, let's reprioritize and not make everything, the most important. So it's really important to have that sounding board and to have those folks that you can reach out to when you are in that space, but also when you want to celebrate, and to have that amplified, whether it's big or small, whatever it is that you're celebrating.
I have to repeat that. Brilliant yet imperfect. That we think that they can't be the same, right? They have to be totally different. You can't be one or the other. That's a really good way to remember that. So, one last question for you. Excuse me. How do you recommend people measure progress and adjust their goals along the way?
Yeah, well, I'm going to start this response with how we finished the last, and that is giving yourself permission to be both brilliant and imperfect. And this was a concept that I became aware of through the woman-centered coaching and facilitation certification that I spent the last year working towards. And Dr. Claire Zammit is who shared that statement of giving yourself permission to be brilliant and imperfect. And to know that the point of the goals is to help you be motivated on your journey of growth and expansion. However, the goals are not a destination. They are the opportunity for you to recognize that there is the journey of personal and professional growth and development is one that never ends. It continues through our whole life. And Einstein says, if you're not learning and growing, you're dying. And none of us want to be that. So the final R from Rappel is to recognize and to be able to get clarity on what's holding you back and to take purposeful action steps toward your breakthroughs and your goals and being able to move forward. And so, not beating yourself up whenever one of your goals is perhaps in your mind viewed as a failure or an opportunity. It wasn't what you expected. But that's part of the journey. That's part of the brilliance and imperfection. That's part of the growth. That's part of the expansion. And quite honestly, we probably grow more during those periods of discomfort. And, you hear the phrase, oh, I'm afraid to take one step out of my comfort zone. And so that's why I'm encouraging everyone to have the courage to take a step into your discomfort zone, because that is where the growth lies. Is there.
Yeah, absolutely. I always like to say you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable, because that is where you grow. And, you have to hurt a little bit, it's going to feel uncomfortable. And when you're being stretched, You're not going to like it, but when you get to the other side, you're going to look back and go, okay, that wasn't as bad, or it was bad, but I learned A, B, and C, right? So, and I love that you were saying the way that you end your day. I do the exact same thing, almost the same questions. And I would say, okay, because that's the way that I give myself, I extend grace to myself, right? Not to be so hard on myself, like, oh, I could have did that better. I'm like, okay, you know what? Tomorrow's another day. That's all it is. That's what I say. Tomorrow's another day. And, Lord willing, I'm up. I'm like, okay, how can I serve people? And I hope I can serve them in the way that you want me to serve them. Right? Because sometimes we get in our own way. Right? I know I get in my own way. And instead of just, allowing your brilliance to come through. And I had to call my mentor the other day. Well, I think a couple weeks ago, because I was feeling kind of down and I was doing the same thing. I go out and walk every day to kind of clear my head. And I was just feeling down. And after speaking with him just for 30 minutes, I was able to kind of regroup, get a different perspective, and it changed my energy. It really shifted that energy because he was telling me, like, he's like, Renee, I don't think you know how brilliant you are. And for somebody else to say, he's like, the things, when I was working with you, the things that you would come up with and that you would, submit to me, he's like, how is she even doing all this? How she got time to do all this? Like, it's good to kind of hear that. And then it's like, okay, all right, I believe you. You may not believe me, but I believe you. Sometimes that's what it takes, right?
Yeah, we need somebody to hold that mirror up, right? So that we can see it. And I admire you for like acknowledging that you're feeling down and reaching out to your community, because we have the tendency, right? And I'm guilty as the next one, of pushing through, like, I'm feeling down, I'm feeling overwhelmed, but push through. And imagine how that really negatively impacts your productivity when you do that. But taking 30 minutes to get that reset and reground and remind yourself who you are, and, straighten your crown and be able to move forward in a positive way.
Absolutely. I mean, it was just so therapeutic for me. So before we wrap up, go ahead. You want to share?
Can I just add something? Because something that I've noticed, I used to belong to a lot of different women groups, and one of the things that often came up was that we felt like we just had to push forward because we had to prove a point that we could do it. And complaining, so to speak, about it made us look like we were not able to really accomplish the goal. So if you're in a leadership role, oftentimes that can be a little bit stressful because you feel like you're supposed to go through this. So you just have to push through and keep going and not tell anyone about it and not talk to anybody about it because you feel like all that stress is on you, and you complaining about it is making you look like you're not up for the challenge, so to speak. And I think it's so important that you both said how important it is for us to find someone that can reaffirm our qualities, our brilliance, and the communities that can really help continue to build those skill sets to help us continue to push forward. So I just wanted to say that I appreciate that you all said that, because I've heard that numerous times from professional women that are very capable, very skillful, but they just don't feel that they're supposed to be complaining.
Yeah, sometimes we need that hand holding or that support to be able to break through, right? That's what it's really about. We need to break through whatever that is.
Yeah, just know you're human. Okay, we do wear our capes. All right, we wear our capes, but we also are human, and give yourself, the grace to be human. And that's where that comes from, and reach out to somebody just to say, you know what, you're okay. Sometimes that's all it takes. And it's like, okay, now I can go back in, right? All right. So before we wrap up, let's each share a takeaway tip for our listeners who are ready to take action on their goals. So, Anna, you want to start us off?
Absolutely. So my tip for today is something that I think nobody says it out loud as much as we should. And that is to stop waiting for that perfect moment and stay stuck, and instead just start. start before you're ready, because once you start, you will be ready. So that is my tip for anyone listening today. And I wish I had told my younger self that maybe 15 years ago, right?
I love that. I really, really love that. For me is, writing down your goals and review them weekly to stay accountable. How can you make sure that, you understand what is it that you really wanting to focus each week, making sure that you write it down and then following up at the end of the week and making sure that you're holding yourself accountable to those.
Lolly.
Sorry, guys. I will say that both of those are really good ideas or tips. And I think that along with that, finding an accountability partner who will keep you on track, right? Someone who's honest with you. You don't want somebody who's afraid to approach you. You don't want somebody who was going to sugarcoat that, right? Because you need someone who's going to get you to where you need to be. And whoever it is, it's good to have someone who could be honest with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And my tip, we talked about this before, celebrate your progress, right? As one of Joni's R's, rejoice, right? And it doesn't have to be a big win. Just, celebrate every little forward step, even a backward step, as long as you don't stay stuck. Okay. Learn from it and fail forward, right? That's what we want to do, fail forward, but it's okay. Celebrate yourself. So, Joni, you want to share a tip?
Yeah, I mean, I think my tips are really around those 5 R's: to reflect, relate, reason, recognize, and rejoice. All of it. That's really, really important to be able to take time for yourself, to be able to share it with other people, and to not be alone in whatever you're experiencing, if that's the high highs or the low lows.
Absolutely. I love the 5 R's. I can't wait to read your book.
Yes.
We want to thank you so much, though, for joining us, Joni. Your advice has been incredibly insightful, and I know our listeners are walking away with valuable strategies. What social media platforms can our listeners contact?
Yeah, I am on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube as well.
Okay. And we'll share her handles, her social media handles, in our podcast notes. So if you want to reach out to Joni and learn more about the 5 R's and get a signed book, that you'll be able to do that.
Absolutely. And listeners, we'd love to hear from you. So what's one action step you're taking this week? Share it with us on social media using hashtag Think, Try, Thrive.
And don't forget to tune in for the final episode of our series, where we'll talk about reviewing and assessing your goals to ensure continued growth.
So if you loved this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share with a friend who needs that extra inspiration. I think that we can all learn something from this.
Absolutely. So until next time, take action and keep thriving. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.